So I'm not actually here as the Sage Gateshead at all now, so you have to imagine that this isn't me who's speaking. I'm now speaking on behalf of a national program, Sing Up, which was founded, as you will hear, 4 years ago by a partnership between 4 organizations, one of whom was the Sage Gateshead, and 3 of us are now taking it forward. The single aim of Sing Up is this: for every primary age child to take part in high quality singing activity every day, with every school a singing school. The background is that in January 2007, the UK government, having concluded a review of music education, came to the conclusion that significant investment in singing in the classroom as part of a wider change program would have a profound impact not only on children's musical development and their singing development, but on their education development more widely. And the fact that the UK government came to this view was a function of really effective evidence-based lobbying, some of which was, we were aided in that campaign actually by Professor Welch, who some of you will have met yesterday, whose institute had produced some really helpful research evidence to show that singing could really make a difference, not just to children's sense of well-being and efficacy, but to their actual capacity to learn. So we were able to make a really strong case to the government for the importance of singing. I say we, I mean a really cross-sectoral coalition of cultural partners, educational partners, music industry professionals, and others. And we were very fortunate to have the services of Howard Goodall, great British contemporary and popular composer, who put himself really at the forefront of that campaign and became our singing ambassador. So these 4 organizations, AMV is a ad agency, campaign agency. They were responsible for the campaign Make Poverty History with the white wristbands. That was a very big campaign. So they've done a lot of public sector, public-facing campaigns. Faber Music, I'm sure you all know, is a great publisher of music. The Sage Gateshead's role in the partnership was to take responsibility for the entire training and workforce development strategy. And Youth Music are a charity who fund participation programs for young people, and their role was to support with coordination and promotion. So we formed a consortium. That's a partnership, complex partnership. We bid to government to run the program. And as you can see, we were awarded a total of £36 million a year. There was £4 million also spent on a specific programme for choir schools and for connecting our tradition of choir schools associated with cathedrals with their local communities that we also worked with. We ran the programme as a partnership for 4 years. Coming towards the end of that 4th year, we went to government and said, we would like to have another year's support to enable us to move this programme from being 100% funded to being something that can stand on its own 2 legs. And we were happy to receive extension funding to take us to independence. And I will tell you more about that. Just to go back, the aim was to make every school a singing school. So obviously, what is a singing school? So we said that this is what a singing school is. Now, we thought very carefully about this, and we worked with lots of head teachers and classroom teachers and music specialists to come up with this. One of the challenges that we heard all over the country when we asked why is singing declining in schools, the response we would hear is because the classroom teacher is not a specialist. The classroom teacher is not confident, doesn't know what to do with singing, often feels embarrassed to sing themselves in front of their children. And so singing isn't really happening unless it's happening in assembly or led by one particular teacher in the school. So we thought, how do we get that force of classroom teachers to feel confident and comfortable? And we thought, you know, 5 minutes a day, actually, if every class of children purposefully sang together with their teacher for 5 minutes a day, that would be a great starting point. So we worked through this kind of simple list of things to provide a baseline for a construct about a singing school that we felt was friendly to the non-specialist, but would provide a platform from which people could build great ambitions of quality and participation. So we took a strategic approach. Songs and resources. Schools told us, We don't know what materials to use. I can't find anything suitable for my classroom, etc., etc. So Faber Music's role in the partnership was to build what we call the Song Bank, the National Song Bank. And I will tell you that originally the government minister that supported the program was very eager that it should be a song book. And he had the idea of a nice cloth-bound book that would have, 30 English songs in it, and we would all have our book, and we would sing our book, and we felt this wasn't very modern, really, and probably not very sustainable either. And my esteemed colleague, Anthony Sargent, and I were in the minister's office, and I can remember the moment when we looked at each other as the minister was telling us how great this song book was going to be. And Anthony said, yes, that would be marvellous. And be very interesting. I'm sure we could do something with the internet, couldn't we, Minister? And we managed to persuade the minister that he'd had this brilliant idea, which is that it should be a song bank. Songs and resources. Training absolutely had to be fundamental, because if we were going to shift a national community of non-specialist teachers into believing themselves... Yes, sorry?
The song bank is an internet...
Yes. Yes, I'll describe it in more detail shortly, yes. Training, so we, to shift that community of non-specialist teachers into feeling confident and able to animate our singing strategy, we needed a really, really substantial training program, which had to encompass the needs of the beginner and the needs of the teacher that was going to really make progress, and also the specialist musician. So we devised a whole networked approach to training, which I'll describe. Advice and guidance. We discovered that often schools just need a little bit of advice. They kind of know what to do to get their school singing, but they need the confidence of somebody else saying, yeah, that's right, or I did this, or I tried that. So we knew we needed an advice and guidance strand. We also learned that, I don't know if this is the same in the countries that you come from, but in England, schools often like awards schemes. It provides a focus for the school, and you can bring the whole school staff and the whole school community together to work towards an award. So we decided we would have a set of awards, a silver, gold, and platinum award for singing schools. And we also decided it was important to have a clear focus on accessible learning. And what we mean by this very specifically is resources, strategy, and techniques to include children who have some special needs or who are excluded for some reason from mainstream education. So delivered through a website. So the Song Bank and all the resources sit on a website, and the web address comes later in the presentation, which has constantly been added to over the life of the program. And the website has become a more and more sophisticated environment for schools and parents and teachers and musicians. And in the next phase, it will become an environment for young people as well. In the first phase, we just focused on making it a resource to support the grown-ups, although we have always had on the website the capacity for teachers to use a whiteboard, an interactive whiteboard, so they could, with their children, go through the database, and the children could choose what songs they would like to sing, and then they could have them downloaded onto the interactive whiteboard, either in score form. There are also backing tracks. There are also live recordings of children singing the songs. So a variety of tools to support the classroom. In some schools, we found that teachers were actually handing over control of the web resource to the children because the children were more competent at utilizing the website. So that was fantastic. In other places, you might have one person in a school who would be the sort of web champion for the school and kind of sort everything out for the other teachers. So people have used the website in different ways. The Area Leader Network was the vehicle through which we created and delivered all of the training and built the partnerships. And this was the part that Sage Gateshead was responsible for organisationally. We had a target of working with all English primary schools, which is about 20,000. By the way, the Department for Education doesn't know how many there are. We kept getting given a different number of primary schools, ranging from 18,500 to 22,000, depending on how they categorize them. But that's happily not my problem. So we had to work with about 20,000 schools. So we built a network of about 300 organizations across the country to be our area leader network, organized into the 9 regions of the country. So in each region, there were clusters of organizational partners who had a responsibility for a patch. And we negotiated clearly with them how many schools were in their patch, What were the strengths and weaknesses of singing in that particular part of the country? What were the assets? So it's kind of like if any of you are familiar with the asset-based approach to community development, it was that sort of strategy. What are the assets in this community? What music organizations, what specialist teachers, what excellence in singing in schools? How do we harness the assets in this locality to meet the needs of this locality? Assets and needs, and then the organizational partners to convene a plan to deliver those. So the training was through training days, training events, support in schools, local, sub-regional and regional bringings together and so on. National events became very important, both for teachers and musicians, but also for children. So what we began to have, we saw that it was important that people saw children singing in order for them to understand the meaning and value of the program. So we encourage localities to come up with performance events. So small schools might get together with other schools in their area and they do a big event with 500 children. Or you might just have, for example, the Royal Opera House in London hosted several enormous events with thousands and thousands of children and so on. And we used these national events to support an advocacy campaign which was being promoted through press, through teacher networks and through parent networks. So performance indicators, we aim to engage with all primary schools. By March, 93% were working with us, and right now we've got 98%. So it was really, really incredibly powerful. By signed up, we mean they have registered with the website, they have interacted with us by participating in training and using the website in some way. Some schools have gone much further than that. We've completed the resource, and it's bigger. We now have more than 600 songs and resources now on the website, some public domain. One of the really powerful things about having a music publisher in the partnership was that they were able to negotiate copyright-free or cheap for many, many popular song materials. People were really delighted to give the rights for their materials into this program. We committed to training 35,000 singing leaders, and we have trained 48,000. Those singing leaders are classroom teachers, specialist teachers, musicians, and parent volunteers, and 22,500 young singing leaders who are young people aged between 7 and 18. And we have written a training manual and a handbook, which is nationally available for the area leaders to support the training of young singing leaders. Music Services is a local authority structure that has delivered music education throughout England for a long time. YMASs are youth music action zones, which are networks of community music organizations that serve young people out of school. All of these types of organizations networked with us. That was a target, and yes, we have over 300 organizational partners and growing. So people did it their own way. So the philosophy behind the design of the program was what I like to call the distributed network philosophy. This comes back to Spartacus again. We knew that all over the country people were doing great things with children singing. But we also knew that there were huge areas of weakness where the singing was not good and children were not engaged. So the thing we wanted to do was connect up, use Sing Up as a networking structure through which people could learn from and share and exchange and begin to create their own models and strategies for replication and the development of practice. Diversity was very important. One of the issues that teachers told us that they faced was a lack of repertoire that was really appealing, particularly to children aged 10 to 12, the top end of primary school, because remember we were focusing at the primary end, because that was in that period what we were funded to do. So also performance skills and quality. Any of you who've got anything to do with singing will know that all singing leaders and choral conductors are right, and they all disagree with each other. Consequently, arriving at a common position on quality and pedagogy is completely impossible. So what we decided to do instead was come at it the other way and look at the behaviors and characteristics of really good quality vocal leadership from the point of view of the teacher or the pedagogue, and draw the conclusion that has been the platform upon which education has always been built, which is that if the teacher behaves right, the child is able to learn and progress. Make the assumption that there was going to be a causal connection between the behaviors of the leaders and the success and quality of the singing of the children. So we ran a lot of training, of course, but more than that, we wrote a set of principles, which are on the website, the 10 Principles of Good Quality Vocal Leadership, and we described the behaviors associated with those principles, and now we are linking all of our training and resources to those principles, and we have a whole network of support for teachers. So if you're a teacher, you can look at the 10 principles. One of them is about what in pedagogic speak you would say is differentiation. So it's including learners of different abilities and capacities within the session such that they all make progress. And you can look at that and go, I wonder how well I'm doing with that. And then you can click and look at little video examples of what that looks like. Or you can go to a training course that can help you investigate that. One of the things that, as I said, that was important was about performance. And in each area of the country, people found really innovative things. In Bristol, they got into having, Bristol's in the southwest of the country, singing picnics. And they would have hundreds of children in big open spaces and have a picnic singing day. And people would bring their families and children would sing all of the various songs they'd learnt. Up at the Sage Gateshead, we as an organisational partner worked with our own orchestra. We're kind of like an opera house, so our orchestra, Northern Symphonia, is the orchestra of the house. So we worked with our orchestra with 300 children from schools around to create a really, really beautiful performance of a new piece by a Scottish composer on the theme of the planets. And we had a digital live connection with the LSO where they had children in London also singing as part of the same concert. People tried all sorts of things to really engage the children in a variety of different kinds of performances. One of the things that was really, really clear to us was that the most important thing that the teacher needed was confidence in small steps. And so the award scheme became very important. When you look on the website, you'll see that the award scheme is very simply and helpfully set out. And the way it works is that the schools upload evidence in response to questions into a web environment, and they can upload little videos and recordings. And the idea of the awards journey was that it provided a structure for a school to develop its strategy towards becoming a singing school. So it's never been about getting a Sing Up award. It's been about what might I do to get singing going on in my school? And the award structure helps you to make that journey. So for some schools, that's been really, really positive and helpful. We have, of those 20,000 schools, 2,000 have achieved awards, which is actually apparently a fantastically good statistic. I don't know a lot about the take-up of awards, but when I was researching the last pitch we made to government, I discovered that in that time frame, that is actually very good, because I was thinking, that's a bit low. The feedback we'd had from schools was that many of them had used the award structure. This is somebody getting their awards, Sing Up awards. People had used their award structure to help them plan the training of their staff, which I thought was a really helpful and interesting thing. Moving forward, the challenge for us was always going to be, it was pretty, if not easy, at least clear, to see how you would do that with £9 million a year. Much more difficult to do that with absolutely no funding whatsoever at all, which is what we'll have from the 1st of April. So we have spent the year working with all of those partners. We're still delivering what the government likes to call business as usual. So schools can still access the website, teachers can still go to training, but we've had to massively reduce the advocacy, national events, and public-facing component of the programme. What we've done throughout the year is build a new model, and the new model will be based on membership. So schools will join Sing Up, they will pay a fee, I'll tell you how much it's going to be in a minute, and in return for that fee, annual fee, they will have access to all the stuff on the website and more. We're creating a whole new set of things in response to demand. We've did kind of focused market research with about 1,000 head teachers across the country. And then we're creating a new model for delivering the training. So we're turning our funded area leader network into what we're calling a providers network. And we have 37 provider partnerships across the country who are approved Sing Up training providers, and then they will be, as it were, activated to serve and support the communities that, the schools in their localities when those schools sign up. They will run events on a termly basis that people can send their staff to, and we will provide them with the resources to deliver the training so that everything is consistent. We will also encourage those providers through their relationships that they make with schools through Sing Up to develop their own training and their own activities so that they can grow their own business models through the relationships that we help them to get into and develop with schools. We're also going to start developing webinars and much more use of the digital environment as a training environment, because we didn't do that at all in phase 1 of Sing Up, because actually we didn't have to do that. We had the resource and the luxury of having that live network on the ground. New domains, we are also going to now start developing an offer for secondary schools, which will be structured quite differently in some ways, although it will still have the core values of great content, great training, great advice and guidance, integrated, and also families. We've found that many families were using the website, particularly the families of preschool children. So we're going to build and develop that aspect of what we offer. This is the membership. The price will be between £150 and £250 a school, depending on the size of the school, because that is something that seems to be quite common in England in terms of things that schools buy. You have a sliding scale according to the size of the school, and right now we've just, on the 31st of January, in 5 days, we go live with the early bird offer. So anybody who commits to buy from the 31st of January gets a discount, and the membership starts the 1st of April, so that's really exciting. We need to make the business work. There is no subsidy in it, so we have a business plan that tells us how many schools need to have bought the membership, at what price, by when in the next 12 months in order for the model to float. The risk is being shared between the Sage Gateshead Youth Music and Faber Music. We are going to set up for accounting purposes, we will set up a little separate vehicle to enact the trading, and the 3 organisations will form the board of the new company, enabling us to do what we've been doing, which is bring the intellectual property and the creativity and the reach of those different partners to bear on the same question, which is how we get every child every day having great and high quality singing experiences. I just want to show a tiny film clip, which is on the website, and it is a film clip of one of the schools talking about their Platinum Awards journey. It's what happens when you do live streaming.
Today we've celebrated Sing Up Day in an amazing way because we gained the Platinum Award, and we had a presentation with Howard Goodall and a wonderful assembly where we just sang our hearts off.
What's really obvious in a school like this is that it's the whole school. Every child is engaged, really enjoying their singing, and so are the grown-ups and all the staff. And I think what we've found is that the more the adults join in, the better it is for a school to become a singing school. There'll be loads of schools out there that do some singing. What we really want is not just that they
Yep. So you can't watch the video because it's live on the internet. So this is the problem of a very active digital strategy. Sometimes it undermines you when the technology hasn't caught up with the idea, but never mind. You get the idea. So in conclusion, I would advise you to go to www.singup.org. What you will find until the 1st of April is you can't get very far into the website if the suffix of your own address tells the internet that you're not in the UK, because government-funded education websites do not allow you in. However, from the 1st of April, you'll be able to go anywhere you like, because we welcome customers from all over the world. And we're very, very happy to set any of you who would like to set up your own sing-ups in your own countries. We will be extremely happy to help you do that. If you want to know more and you can't get deeper into the website, just email me. My colleague Michelle James, who is now sort of directing the new Sing Up, will be really happy to connect with and talk to you further. Okay.